So much. Take a look at this, though. When both Paul George and Kawhi Leonard play, the Clippers are 24-14. That win percentage would rank them second in the West. But with one or both of them out, the team is 7 games below 500 and averages about 8 fewer points in those games. So, Chiney, Woj just talked about this big picture, how it fits into the Western Conference. Everything is so tight. It changes day by day, the standings. How are you looking at this within that context?
Yeah, the Clippers, without Paul George, so far this season with Kawhi Leonard on the floor, they're 4-2. So you would think that by the numbers, they still have a chance. They're 5th in the West. But the West is looking crazy from 5 all the way down to 12. And so if they lose a couple of games, they could be, on the outside looking in. But I do think that this team is built to still compete. There are some losses, like, you think about the situations with the Thunder, and we saw that great defensive play by Lou Dort at the end. They're like, okay, in those circumstances, they were practicing for the playoffs. They wanted an end-of-game scenario, and it just didn't work to their advantage that they can learn from. But we all know they're stronger together with both of their superstars, and it feels like time and time again they just don't have them available, and it's hard to feel so confident in what they're able to do in the postseason when that's the circumstance.
Look, they have the talent to muddle around 500 without Paul George, especially once Norman Powell comes back. That's how deep they are. But the problem is muddling around 500 is going to leave you at grave risk of going to the play-in tournament, which the Clippers lived through and lost last year. Their tiebreaker situation is bad up and down the standings. Their schedule is tough. Almost every game they have left is against a Western Conference team that's playing for something, just like they're playing for something. There's a massive amount at stake here, and Woj sort of hinted at this Paul George timeline could go into the playoffs. Do they need to advance to get him back? And as soon as you're saying the word advance, that's getting into dicey territory if he's not back by then.
I'm not worried. I'm not worried. The thing that we was worried about all season long was Kawhi Leonard's health and his availability. He's been available, and he's been showing up and showing out. So if he could continue to play at the level that he's playing at right now, the other guys will follow suit and rally around him. I think this is a chance and an opportunity, like Anthony Davis has with the Lakers with LeBron James out, for Kawhi Leonard to remind the world on who the hell he is.
Is he going to play back-to-backs? I mean, that's a good
I think at this point he has no choice.
And, I mean, they avoided worst-case scenario, which is what makes me think, okay, that this could have a silver lining here, but they need Paul George. Since the All-Star break, George and Leonard, they're the only duo in the Western Conference that have each played at least 10 games to be averaging 25 points each as a duo. Let's stick in the West here, get to the Memphis Grizzlies. They're getting Ja Morant back tonight. He is coming off of the bench for the first time in his NBA career. That's after serving an 8-game suspension for conduct that's detrimental to the league. The Grizzlies, they're 34-19 with Ja, 10-8 without him. Perk, captain of the dark side over here. What are you expecting from Ja tonight?
One, I expect the fans to embrace him. I do. I expect the fans to give him a standing ovation and really root for him. They are at home tonight. Also, I expect Ja to be Ja. Now, I'm not saying he's going to make every basket, but one thing we know about Ja Morant, and listening to his interview when he came back yesterday, he's not a person that's lacking confidence right now. Like, he still has his swag, and that's what keeps him motivated. And the extra is going to add that extra juice, and he's going to be even more motivated.
And we saw a hint of that the crowd embraced him when he came back into the arena, even though he wasn't playing in that first game. And they were clapping for him, cheering for him, kind of putting their arms around him. But I think rightfully so, there's been so much attention on Ja Morant. But they're still without Brandon Clark. They're without Steven Adams. Tonight, they're without Dylan Brooks as he's racked up too many technical fouls. In this absence of all these players, who have you been watching,
Give me
Zach?
this computer.
Okay, take my computer. Perk just stole my computer on live television.
He's got to look some stuff up.
Okay, go ahead, Perk. What'd you ask me? Oh, Adams and Clark. Adams and Clark.
I don't even know.
Those absences really matter. That rips away at the soul of the Grizzlies, this ferocious, rim-attacking team. They're going to be tough to overcome. But in Ja's recent absence, they're 6-1 in their last 7 games, and the main reason is Jaren Jackson Jr. We all know what Jaren Jackson Jr. can do on defense. He might win Defensive Player of the Year. His offense, he scored 25 or more in 4 straight games, and he's just, don't always look pretty, but he's going to make you hurt at the rim with little hook shots, offensive rebounds. Here he comes. He's going to bring the ball up. Like I said, it's not the most graceful. He's just kind of going to spin and burrow and boom, and then he dunks. That's like what he's been doing. And this last one, without Adams and Clark, he's been their screener in the pick and roll a lot. with a stretch floor with Santi Aldama at the 4, space on the floor for him, and he can do a lot of damage when there's no one in that paint. That paint is wide open. He goes in, lefty, finish. His scoring has reached a new level, and the Grizzlies, if they get Ja back and he plays well, and I suspect he will, Adams is out, Clark is out. They have a chance to remind everyone in the West, Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr. is a big 3 that can go toe-to-toe with anybody.
They can go toe-to-toe with anyone. They
Give me
may
my
have to
computer
go.
back.
I can't
how did the hair color
By the way, we improved
That is
Jefferson.
That is heinous.
We gave him a little,
That is
a little hope. D'Angelo Russell, D'Lo, has averaged nearly 21 points a game, helping them stretch the floor, which is a necessity for their playoff hopes.
It's a what?
Necessity. Look,
Okay.
I said 21 points per game since returning from injury, second most on the Lakers during that span. Obviously, AD is the number one in that category. So we're only going to take producer Rick, baby. Let's get to it. Everyone knows D'Lo is a lefty, but I love the floor spacing. These are the two guys. Number 1 in scoring right down there. Number 2 with the ball. He's a lefty. There's good spacing. You can't help off of AD. He's going to attack the gap, which you see a lot of gaps. Help defense can't move. And he gets to the rim. That's an easy bucket. He doesn't settle. Now on this possession again, look at the spacing. Here's a pick and roll. They take their time. They're still connected. This is important. Most posts sometimes try to linger around when they have a free elbow. Instead, he crashes the basket, gets in position to rebound. That is so important. So there's synergy there. And with D'Lo shouldering more of the offensive load, let's switch over to defense because AD now has the ability to be more energized on the defensive end. There's only one player in the NBA this season who gives you 25 points, 10 rebounds, 2 blocks. It's Mr. AD.
Ooh.
And those block numbers have gone up since the trade deadline. That's huge. So let's look at the defense really quick. Producer Rick, today, baby. All right. What you laughing at, Park?
Go ahead.
We in our
Go ahead,
bag.
girl.
We're in service. Okay, look, he gets moved on. Signature move. Pascal Siakam, but he knows the scouting report, and he's able to block. Again, watch him. He's timing his sprint. These are the chase down blocks that we love. And so he stays engaged, stays on the play, able to tap it. He's playing around. He gets the rebound. Those are so important for Anthony Davis to stay engaged defensively. I told you, this team goes as this man goes. That's the bread and butter for Lakers success, this new iteration with LeBron James. But this guy is the X factor. If he can be that best third and on a good night fourth option, that means the Lakers are winning and they have a chance.
Cover it. There are 3 factors, Zach Lowe, that you were keeping your eye on as what could decide who is in the play-in, who's on the outside looking in. Let's start with a game that you're keeping an eye on. What is it?
That's tonight in tipping off and whatever the clock says on your screen. This is the biggest game of the season to date in the NBA.
So that is the
Warriors, Mavericks tonight. ESPN will decide the tiebreaker between these two teams who are sandwiching the Thunder. The young and spunky Thunder, they're not going anywhere. They're going to make you earn this playoff spot. These teams, these guys, defending champions, we know what's at stake for them. They need Andrew Wiggins. These guys, Jalen Brunson gone. Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie traded for Kyrie Irving, who, by the way, can walk in free agency this summer if this doesn't go well.
Good point.
These teams not getting out of the play-in is a disaster. And tonight, if the Mavericks fall further behind the Warriors, that's really bad for them. This is a huge, huge game.
Is there one that's bigger for, if you had to say, is it bigger for the Mavs or is it bigger for Golden State?
I guess it's bigger for the Mavs just because they're already behind, and this would lose them the tiebreaker and a game to the Warriors. But can the Warriors win 2 road games? Is that possible? 2 in a row?
They haven't since what, January? All right, there's another star that you're keeping your eye on.
Karl Anthony Towns is back, and that is a complicating factor for the Wolves, who have kind of built up an identity without him. They are plus 10 per 100 possessions with Kyle Anderson, Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, and Jaden McDaniels on the floor. Kind of defense switchy. Now they got to reintroduce Towns with 9 games left. Their schedule's pretty easy, but we talked about what Dallas traded. These guys traded even more, and they owe an unprotected pick to the Utah Jazz in that Rudy Gobert deal. They do not want to lose sleep in the lottery in May.
That's a very good point. And then there is a all-time leading scorer-sized hole in this picture that we're painting.
Yeah, that guy might come back.
LeBron.
That guy, LeBron. He's really good, and the Lakers have been really good since the trade deadline, and they've done more than tread water without LeBron. If they can get him back and keep defending the way they're defending with that Jared Vanderbilt, Anthony Davis front court, keep getting shooting from D'Angelo Russell and everything from Austin Reeves off the bench, look, they're not going to be afraid of anybody if they make the playoffs.
And they shouldn't be. Why should they be afraid?
Like, what a remarkable turnaround it would be for them.
Well, this is what the computer says, just as we're in terms of looking at projections
I don't trust
here.
computers.
Well, Perk stole yours, so that's probably a good thing.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.